Today is August 10th, 2013, about 10 o'clock, and we're sitting with Mr. Don Clifton. All right, Mr. Clifton, if you don't mind, are you from Craig originally?
No, I was born in Mount Harris, Colorado, which is 24 miles east of Craig. It was a coal mining town.
Okay. That was a boom town, is my understanding.
At that time, in the early years, yeah, right after the war it did real well, but then in the early 50s it completely closed up. It's gone now, it's not even there.
Oh, it's completely gone?
Completely gone, yes.
Oh, okay. In the early 50s that happened?
Yeah, in 1953 is when it completely closed.
Okay. And did you move to Craig after that?
No, I moved here actually in 49.
Okay.
I went to work after I got out of high school, I went to work at the mines, and they went on strike.
Oh.
I was a young guy and I needed money, and so I moved down here and went to work for Safeway.
Okay. So the miners, including yourself, went on strike. You came Safeway across the street.
Yes, worked in that store right across the street.
Okay. And where did you move in between Craig and Mount Harris?
No place. I come right from Mount Harris to Craig.
Oh, okay.
49.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like coming from Mount Harris to Craig? How did Craig compare?
Well, Mount Harris was pretty quiet. You know, there weren't many what you could actually say businesses. The mines owned everything. They owned the stores. They owned the pool hall. They owned the drugstore. They owned everything. So when you come to a town where everything's independently owned, it's quite a little bit different because you have different places you can shop, different places you can live. You know, they owned all the housing. They owned everything.
Wow. So it was a complete company town, Mount Harris, and here was not.
Yes.
Okay. Everything independently owned in Craig. All right. And how did you hear about the mines? Were they just starting up here?
No, not the mines. I come to work for Safeway. That's in 1949.
I misunderstood that. Okay.
I come down to Craig one day and went into the Safeway and interviewed with the manager there. His name was Ken Allen. And about 2 or 3 days later, he got a hold of me and said he wanted me to come to work. So I moved down here and stayed with a friend of mine. His name was Dave Terrell.
Okay.
He was a young guy about my age.
Okay.
Stayed together.
And what was it like working for Safeway?
Oh, it was fine. You just didn't pay anything. You know, the pay was pretty poor.
Right.
So I stayed there for 3 years, and then I went to work for CNH Distributing Company.
Okay.
Which was a beer distributor.
Okay. Is that the Coors?
Coors beer distributor.
Coors distributor. Okay. And how long did you work there?
I worked for him for 10 years.
Okay. Did you ever know I think Jim Meineke?
Oh, I knew Jim Meineke.
Yeah, he mentioned that you worked for them as well.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Yeah, I knew Jimmy.
So you worked for them for 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. And in that time, how did you see Craig change?
Well, the biggest change is there was different kind of people coming into town. I thought, you know, not like the local people here were back in those days, because there was starting to be some oil exploration and that kind of thing, and that brought a different kind of people into town.
Okay. So expanding, but different types of people coming in.
Kind of people come.
Did you know a lot of people in town before that influx?
Oh, I knew quite a few people. Yeah, I knew, you know, a lot of young guys my age. I didn't know a lot of people, you know, probably older than me, but
I see.
But when you work in a grocery store, you get to know about everybody, you know, that shops in the store. So I knew quite a few people after working there for 3 years.
And that changed as all this influx of people are.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Okay. Today I don't know anybody.
Right. That's what a lot of people say.
Yeah, it's you know, Bob and Barbara when they come, and that's about it.
Right.
We just don't run into people that we know anymore.
Okay. What was the housing situation like when you moved here?
Well, it was when we first got married. We got married in '51, Bonnie and I, and we rented a little house right up Yampa Street here from a guy by the name of Major Lawrence.
Okay.
And it was just a little house. He had a garage, and half of it was his garage, and the other half was our house.
Wow.
And we lived there for about a year, and then we moved some apartments that used to be just right straight down the street to the east here on the corner, and they've been torn down. There's a building built there now. We lived there for a couple of years, and then we moved into a house after that. But the housing was pretty good. You could afford it. It was affordable, and you could afford the housing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we rented another house, and then finally in 1963, I bid on the Congregational Church was going to build a new church, and they wanted to get rid of the buildings on the land, and so you had to remove them. So I bid on the church and the parsonage in what they called Plymouth Fall. I bid $1,400, and I won the bid. Only problem, I didn't have $1,400.
Okay.
But we borrowed it from a guy that was a good friend of my wife's family, and got everything done. We moved the house up on Russell Street, and it's still there today. And the parsonage, the church we sold is the Episcopal Church over in the west part of town now.
Oh, okay.
I sold that church to the Episcopalians.
Okay.
And then Plymouth Hall I sold to another guy, and he tore it down and built a house out north of town here with it.
All right. So there was a lot going on then.
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
And then we stayed in that house for about 3 years, and I was sitting in the drugstore one morning, and a guy said he needed to buy a house, and so I said, well, I got one, I'll sell you. So I sold him our house, and I went home and told my wife, and she was pretty upset. I said, don't worry, we don't have to move for 3 weeks. We moved into an apartment and physically built a house out west of town. That's where we spent most of our married years here.
Okay. And how many houses were out in that area west of town?
When we built there was no house within. A guy by the name of Steve Kowchek owned the lots there, and there was one trailer house up behind where we bought, and we were the only actually stick-built house in that part of Craig at that time.
Wow. So the rest of it was just wheat fields?
Yes, grass and wheat, that's all it was. Everything around us was. There wasn't even a road up to where we bought our lot. They had to grade a road into it.
Okay. Okay. So you lived through seeing a lot of the town move west then?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I mean, not lived, but you were out there.
Yeah, see, we didn't even have city water or sewer at that time. We had to drill a well and build a septic tank.
Wow. And
I think it was probably in the late 70s before we got sewer finally out there. And that was the big thing, was the sewer, because the ground was very tight. It was hard to operate a good septic system in the ground.
Right. And did that happen because of the boom?
Yes.
And there was all that expansion
to the
sewage.
expansion out that way, and it brought the water and the sewer out that way to us, which is a very good thing for us.
Right.
We were tickled to death.
How quickly did people start to move in right before the boom? Did people expand that way like you did?
There was a little bit, but not a lot. Another guy built a house across the street from us.
Okay.
And trying to remember, there wasn't anybody else built it then until I think the sewer came. There wasn't anybody else built in that little area where we were at until the sewer came.
Okay.
They started building on the hill back up behind us. And then that's when they brought the sewer and the water in. The city did.
Okay.
We had to pay, I don't know, it was like $4,000 or $5,000 for the sewer and $4,000 or $5,000 for water. Yeah.
Wow.
When we got it, but I was happy to have it.
Of course.
Spend the money.
That just seems like a lot of money.
Yeah, it was back in those days.
Okay. Now, just kind of moving chronologically through, the boom came, late 70s, the early 80s. How did that affect Craig, in your opinion?
Well, some was good and some was bad. I was a commissioner from 78 until 87 I got out.
For the county?
Yes, I was county commissioner.
From 78 to 80?
78 to 87.
87?
And we had quite a few problems. We even instituted a thing where we gave senior citizens back, I think it was $200 a piece per year rebate on their taxes on their home, to try to help them some. Because everything in town went up, everything. the value of everything went up. There was
Right.
and everything you bought cost more, so it hurt a lot of local people that weren't working, making big money, because this is all big money out south of town there, you know. But the normal person that had been here for, you know, a good share of their life, it was pretty hard on them.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't afford to sell their house and buy another one.
Right.
You could sell your house. I turned down $250,000 for my house, and then wind up selling it for $50,000 when I left.
Wow.
But you know, if I'd have sold it for the $250 here, I'd have had to go replace it over here for that or more. So it didn't make any economic sense to do it. If I'd been going to leave town, then it would have. But I wasn't going to leave town then.
Right.
So when I did decide to go over on the eastern slope, well, that's what I got out of my house was $50,000.
Wow.
From the 250. So to give you an idea of the range of things that happened.
That very quickly.
Yes. Oh, yes. Within a period of probably 2 to 3 years.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
So you were county commissioner when things like Shadow Mountain were developed.
Yes.
Okay. What was that like?
Well, it was very controversial.
Right.
Because a lot of people didn't want it out there, but you know, when you have that many people coming to town, you have to make some kind of decisions to do what's best that you can, because they're going to come. You know, you can sit there and fool yourself that they're not going to come, but when there's jobs like that out there, they're going to come. So you have to make some kind of arrangements and do things that are going to be controversial. People aren't going to like them.
Was it controversial from the beginning?
From the beginning, yes.
People just didn't want it.
No, they didn't want it.
Why was it? What was the main argument?
That big of a trailer park, people didn't want trailers that much, you know. There was a big trailer park down south that Tom Shockley owned, and but he didn't have anywhere to expand. Right. And they wanted to build that there.
And they built on County Road 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there wasn't much we could do. We had to build someplace, you know, and that actually wasn't right in the middle of the residential area of town, or even where residents I didn't think were going to be built. So we decided that was probably as good a place as any that would be able to locate it. Right. And have them do it.
Right.
Like I say, you had to do it. It wasn't a choice. You couldn't say, well, no, I don't think we're going to build a trailer park, because if you did, you'd have trailers, little trailers, because we had that anyway. You know, people would come into work, they'd bring a little camper trailer, and they'd just park it anywhere. But then you got all kinds of problems, you know, that you have to deal with. So you have to, if they're going to come, you've got to figure out some way that you can do. And that's what we did. Was build that. And it was, like I say, it was controversial. We knew from the start, but we didn't have choices.
I realize this is just kind of out of my own curiosity. I don't mean to harp on this point too much, but how long was Shadow Mountain supposed to be there for? Because I've heard various
I can't remember exactly myself, but I thought it was they were going to close it up as soon as there was going to be Unit 4 built out here.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, there was going to be 4 plants until Bogus got killed, and then he got killed. It died. But
there were going to be 4 units?
Yeah, there was going to be 4
and
units there.
I'm sorry, who died?
Bogus, he was head of the God. When you get old, your memory slips.
No problem at all.
The outfit that built it, was there was a bunch of Rural Electrics Association that went together. Right. And I'm trying to remember what they called themselves. But anyway, he was president of that association. There was about probably 10 or 12 electrical associations that went together to, and then Salt River come in with them out of Arizona, and then Rawhide out of over in Fort Collins. They had a piece of the plants to start with too. And Bogus actually lived down in Montrose. That's where their headquarters was for this conglomerate that was going to build it. Right. And I can't remember whether I think he just died. He didn't get killed. I don't think he just died, but I can't remember if it was. But anyway, he was the big pusher of everything.
So the project kind of died with him.
Yeah, it did. And the best I can remember, it was supposed to be closed like a year or 2 after Unit 4 was completed. Okay. So there was no date written in concrete, you know, when it was just a date after this happens, then it will happen a couple of years later.
Okay.
It was supposed to go from trailer parks. They would sell the lots and it would move into residential housing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. What were the other major issues that you encountered as county commissioner? You were commissioner through the entire boom.
Yeah.
So what other problems were there?
Everything you
Everything. Okay.
Because you have a myriad of problems, you know. They're just, when you get that fast a growth in that short a period of time, it's everything. Roads are a problem, streets are a problem, housing's a problem, everything's a problem.
Right.
That you have to deal with.
Could you maybe, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about, we've been told that especially this downtown area near the bars and everything became a fairly rough scene with all the construction workers. What was it like in terms of crime and bringing in, I've been told, a new police force?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad?
No, I didn't think so.
Okay.
I was also the city judge for 4 years.
In that time span?
Uh-huh. And I really didn't have, well, I went out a judge when I was elected commissioner, so I went out in '70, just when the boom was really starting, but
okay.
I didn't see a lot there. You know, anytime you have a bunch of younger guys come in that's working in construction and that type of thing, you're coming into an old quiet cow town.
Right.
A little bit of rowdiness seems like a lot.
Right.
And I didn't think it was excessive myself, but it was a lot more than what there was.
Right.
No doubt about that. You know,
right.
Because you brought in a bunch of young guys they like to get out and have a few beers on Saturday night, Friday night, doesn't matter. You know?
Right. Right.
And but I never thought it was excessive.
Okay.
We didn't have what I would say is a problem.
Right.
It was a lot more than would have been, and Craig stayed like it was, and it was a lot more than it was in Craig before the boom happened, but I never thought it was excessive.
Okay. What was that decision like then to bring in a new police force?
Well, that was the city, and I didn't have anything
to do with that.
That was
the city,
yeah.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Okay. Going away from the boom then, a little bit, what was the budgetary shape of Craig after the boom?
Well, I can't tell you after the boom so much. During the boom, the county, I can't speak for the city, the county was in very good condition. I was in office 8 years, and we never raised the mill levy the whole time I was in office for 8 years. And the reason we didn't have to is because we were getting a lot of value out of what was being built out there. And so you get a lot of value added into your total value that you're going to put your tax rate against, and we never did have to raise our mill levy the whole time I was in office.
Wow.
And we always had plenty of money to do everything that needed to be done for the county.
Okay, so it was beneficial
Yes,
economically.
as far as that goes, it's very beneficial. But I try to tell people, and a lot of them didn't want to listen. I said, now look, these are the good days, because you got the whole value of that thing out there. That it's going to start depreciating, and when it starts depreciating, your value is going to start going the other direction.
Right.
You're still going to have just as many people to take care of and everything, and you're going to have a lot less money to do it with. So it didn't take many years they started seeing it.
Right.
It became a problem.
Right.
Simply because there should have been some better planning, because I tried to warn them myself that it's going to happen. You're going to have to do something because it's going to happen to you.
Right.
When that plant starts going downhill, the value goes down, and you're not going to have the money you've got now to take care of things.
And there were a lot of places affected by that.
Oh, yes.
We've seen, especially the downtown, it's been told.
Yeah. Everything.
The downtown prospered pretty much during the boom, but after
the boom, then it started in a slide, and it just kept going down.
Do you think? How do you think the one-way street influenced that?
I don't think a lot.
Oh, really?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
No, it's that's when you stop and think about it in life, that's a pretty simple thing. I don't think it affects business that much one way or the other.
Okay.
We owned a furniture store down on the one-way on 4th Street there. I don't think it makes any difference for furniture store was located, our business would have been the same. Because Craig isn't that big, you know.
Right.
A little thing like that affects your business. I don't think it did.
Okay.
If your business got affected, I think it would have been from something else.
Okay.
One way, anything to do with it.
What do you remember about places like the Cosgriff?
Oh, the Cosgriff back. My wife worked there when we were first married. She waited tables there.
Oh, okay.
And that was in 50. Well, she worked there. She went there at college one year. She worked there the summer of 49, and then she come back and worked in summer of 50, and we got married in 51. And she worked there probably another 4 or 5 years after. But it's very nice for a town the size of Craig. It was a very nice facility, real nice, and the restaurant they had there and the bar was as nice as it was in this part of the town, or in this part of the country. It really was.
Okay.
And it did a good business.
Yeah.
Good business. But here again, it started going down even before the boom, though. Right. In reality, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the guy that managed it, Charlie Gentry, when my wife was involved with it, was a real good hotel man. He knew what he was doing. And then he left it. I shouldn't say this, but his son started doing it. Never was the same.
Okay.
But it started downhill. I don't think that caused the Cosgriff to go down. It was going down before the boom ever started.
Right. Is it the same? How would you describe the Signal Hill restaurant then? In the same type of manner?
Well, I owned it for a while.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, we had during the boom we had called Bobabados. We had dinner and then dancing. I didn't like that business, so I didn't. We had 2 other restaurants in town. We had one right down the street here. It was an Italian restaurant. I built it. I ran it for a while, and then I sold it to a guy by the name of Joe Petrini that had sold Signal Hill. And then we had the Back Door restaurant, which was out west of town, and it was just a dinner restaurant. We opened only in the evenings. And then after that, we opened Bobabados. But then I didn't like that, so we only run that about probably 5 or 6 months, and we got a hold of this guy by the name of Joe Weenus who was looking for a place, and we sold it to him.
Okay.
Because I just didn't like it. I didn't like drunks, and if you're going to run that kind of place, you got to be able to. And I didn't, so we just sold that and got out of it.
Okay. And how long did you stay in Craig after you were done being county commissioner?
I left about, we left in July of 87. I got out in January of 87. The governor appointed me to a position with the state on the Board of Assessment Appeals.
Oh, wow.
And so I moved over to the Denver area.
To Denver.
I did that for 12 years, and then I retired in 99.
Wow. And stayed in the area? Okay.
Well, we were in Denver. Now we live up in Loveland, which is north of Denver, about
that's right, you said that.
50 miles.
Okay. Okay.
We stayed there.
And how often have you come back to Craig since then?
Oh, we come at least twice a year sometimes. Okay. 3 times, 4 times.
What's it been like coming back to this community?
Well, it's strange because, like I say, you don't know anybody. You know?
Right.
It used to be I could walk in a restaurant and everybody in there as I walk by and say hi to them and speak to them, talk to them, and visit with them. But I walk in a place now and it's like I might as well be going in a place over in Denver.
Right. Right. So
you don't know anybody.
Don't know anyone.
Don't know anybody.
Okay.
Very, very rarely do we run into anybody we know. It's just the population is just almost. Well, and even the people that were here, you know, they've either gotten older and left or died or something. And what's here now are their kids. Well, I don't know their kids because I'm 81 years old, and so I don't know 21-year-olds.
Right.
But I probably know their dad.
Right.
You know, and the mother, but I just don't know them. So that's what basically happens a lot to you too.
I see.
We've been gone since '87, so.
Yeah. Are there any changes that have really, aside from the people, that have really surprised you for Craig?
No, I don't think so. Nothing's happened that surprised me that much.
Okay.
Nothing I can think of.
Did you have any children when you lived in Craig?
Yeah, I had 5.
Oh, okay. 5 children when you were here.
Yes.
What was it like raising a family here?
It was good. It really was. We didn't, of course, our kids are all older. They're up in their late 50s, and we have one daughter that's 61. So that was back in the 50s and 60s. So there wasn't a lot of change at all. I was trying to remember when our last ones got out of high school. Our twins are 54. So they probably graduated 36 years ago, so it'd be back in the early 70s, when they got out of school. So they all got out of school before much ever really happened.
Right.
And none of them stayed here. Some of them stayed for a while, but that's why we stayed on the Eastern Slope, because we have 3 daughters that live in Fort Collins, which is real close to Loveland, and then a son that lives just south of us a little ways, and another son lives on a little ways farther south. But they all moved to the...
Everyone lives on the Eastern Slope.
Yeah, they all moved to the Eastern Slope, so when we moved over there, we just sold the house and stayed.
I see. Okay.
All the family was over there. We got 12 grandkids and 18 great-grandkids, so when you have that many of them, you stay around them.
Yeah. What types of recreational activities were available for a family?
Oh, we had a trailer, a small trailer, camper trailer. You could go anywhere and do anything. We'd go someplace almost every weekend, especially in the summertime. And when the kids were out of school, we'd go down even like into the Four Corners area. We'd just go quite a way. And then, of course, the hunting and the fishing was great. We hunted and fished a lot.
That's really changed since you
left.
Yeah,
it has. The hunting is, it's so restricted anymore. Nobody would, in fact, you have a hard time finding a place to hunt from what you tell me anymore.
Yeah, from what we've heard, it's a lot of outfitting.
Yeah,
farmers are outfitting.
Yeah, they just lease their land out to an outfitter. And so if you're a local guy here, about the only place you got to hunt is public lands, either BLM or Forest Service.
Right. Living on the Eastern Slope, that's not a derogatory term for that side, is it?
No.
There seems to be a competition.
No, it's just an East and West Slope.
Gotcha, okay.
That's all there is to it.
All right. What was it like, maybe not, kind of, being from Craig necessarily, when you're living on the Eastern Slope when the Romney campaign came through? Did you hear about that? Well, I'm sure you did.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just not that much into politics anymore.
Oh, okay.
So I don't pay that much attention to it.
I didn't know if it was just shocking to see a presidential campaign.
No, I didn't even go to it.
Oh, right.
Water was my big thing because I was on the Colorado River Water District for 10 years.
Okay.
And I tried to build some dams. I even bought some land down just out of Maybelle there. Bought 40 acres from Urey family and 40 acres from Hugh Seeley.
Right.
Where the base of the dam was going to be. We wanted to, if we could have built that and dammed that river would have backed within 2 miles of Craig and have been a great recreation area. Plus it would have saved the water. But there's just so much opposition that you can't build water projects. They're almost impossible.
Local opposition?
Oh, everywhere you move. Local, a lot more national than local.
Okay.
But once they hear you're working on a water project, and they're on you like white on rice, they just... When I went on the board, we got some money from the Northern Water Conservation District for compensatory water they were taking out of Granby Dam. And we were going to build a dam. It wasn't even a big one.
Right.
And they kicked us out of 4 different places before we ever got a place to build. And then we finally wound up down in the, you're not familiar with it, but you're over in Kremlin. You have to go over Ravagers Pass and drop down into Kremlin. We had to wind up building it down there in the flats.
Okay.
Because we got kicked out of every other place we would try to go. They'd come in.
I'm assuming that's pretty far out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just got to where you. Well, I don't know. I think that's probably the last dam of any size that's even been built in the state of Colorado.
Wow.
That I know of.
Just restrictions for it. Okay.
But people just don't realize how precious water is.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't.
Right.
They just don't realize that it's a very, very limited supply, and most of it's adjudicated today.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're going to build a dam, you have to have somebody that has the rights to even do it.
Right.
And it's just a very difficult thing to do.
Huh.
And it would have been a lot more important to Craig than anything else that could ever happen to this area if we could have got that dam built.
Right.
In the longevity for the town and the people and for a clean recreation, it would have been the best thing that could have ever happened.
Okay.
Because recreation will go on forever. People always have to have something to do, someplace to go, fish and water ski and
Right.
just boat and the whole works, Lakes attract people.
Yeah.
It's like a magnet, they really do.
Yeah. Fishing and
Fishing.
water sports.
All kinds of water sports. They attract people. And it would have been a great thing for this area
Right.
to have had it, but it just wouldn't be.
Right. That being said, with kind of that lack in that type of recreation and the restrictions on hunting, how do you feel about the state of Craig today compared to when you left?
Well, I feel sorry for them because I know the local people that don't have land someplace that they can go and hunt have a hard time even going out, even though they're local here
Mm-hmm.
and have lived here maybe 40 years. They still have a hard time finding a place to hunt.
Right.
Where everybody else isn't, If you go on the public lands, well, everybody's there,
That's what it was.
I don't know if you've ever hunted or not, but it makes it very difficult to hunt.
If there are people all
Finally,
around.
10 of us went together, even when I was here, and we bought some land up in butted the National Forest up on the South Fork of Williams Fork. And we bought 860 acres up there from Tuttle. And we never did divvy it up in acreage. We just kind of said we had a drawing and you get to build your cabin here and there. So and I finally moved a trailer up there, but then moved over there, so I finally sold it to a guy. But we all thought we needed to buy a place to preserve a place where we could hunt down the road, because we could see it coming at that time.
Okay.
Because it was getting harder and harder to find a place to hunt.
Okay. I'm just gonna write that down. Now, as you're doing that, as you're buying that type of land, and you're moving through, what was the process like after selling it? I mean, were other people in high demand for that? You said you kind of came on the beginning.
I didn't have any problems. A guy from Loveland, I advertised it, and a guy from Loveland bought my share.
Oh, okay.
But it didn't take me, but I don't know, probably 2 weeks to sell it. So I think, a lot of people statewide realized that was happening.
Right.
And it's happened not only in this area, but any area you go. And we used to go back to Nebraska and hunt pheasant all the time. And you can't do that anymore either. It's something I think that's happened basically, not nationally, at least in the western part of the United States.
Okay.
Something that's happened.
Okay. Yeah, the community's gone through a lot of changes recently with I don't know how recent exactly, with the high school and the colleges coming in with the new hospital and everything. There has been development, so do you think the community may be moving forward in the right direction in that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I agreed with everything except the hospital. I didn't think they needed to do, there was nothing wrong. They went through a process and bought everybody's house and everything up next to the old hospital, and after they got everybody's house bought up and they moved out, well, then they decided to not build there and go out there and build it. That's the only thing I didn't agree with, and that's just personal maybe the best decision. I wasn't involved in it enough to know whether it was the best or not. But my personal feeling was I would have been in favor of that.
Right. Okay.
That's it, like I say, that's personal. I don't know enough about it maybe to even speak on it.
No, that's fine. Do you have any additional stories that you'd like to have recorded? Anything you'd like this to say if people were to listen to it?
No, we enjoyed our lives here immensely. You know, it was a great place to live and raise your kids.
Right.
You know, we didn't have the problems of drugs and stuff as much back in the days when I was here raising our family as they would have had in a bigger city. So I think it's a great place to live and have a family and raise your family.
Right.
Because you didn't have a lot of problems to deal with that you do like in a bigger city.
Right.
So it was. I thought I was happy to live here. We loved living here. It was great.
Right.
Once we got our family raised, you know, and they all moved out and left us here. When we moved over there, we just decided to stay.
Right.
Because that's where they all were.
Okay.
If you're pretty young now, but you'll realize when you get older that if you have a family and your family moves someplace, you'll probably fall on too. If you're a tight family, we're a real tight family, and you stay close enough where you can see them quite often.
Right.
We see probably see all of usually once a week. Just for something we decided to do, and we thought it was the best in our best interest to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you.